In the ancient town of Ogoba, in the heart of Enugu State, Nigeria, there exists a secret so dark, so unbelievable, that even the elders refuse to speak of it in daylight. What I am about to tell you will shake everything you thought you knew about trust, marriage, and the hidden faces people wear. This is not just a story. This is a warning. 3 days before her wedding, 22-year-old Adana made a discovery that would unravel her entire world. She was pregnant. But here is where your mind will struggle to comprehend what I am telling you. Adana was a virgin. Completely untouched by any man. How is this possible? Stay with me, because the truth is more terrifying than any spirit tale you have ever heard. Before we dive into this mystery that paralyzed an entire community, if you appreciate stories that reveal hidden truths and teach powerful lessons, subscribe to this channel right now. Ring that bell, because the stories I share here could save your life or the life of someone you love. Now, let me take you back to where it all began, 3 months before that fateful discovery. Ogoba is not like the busy streets of Lagos or the modern cities you see on television. This is a place where tradition runs deeper than the roots of the ancient Iroko tree in the village square. Here, elders still settle disputes under the moonlight, herbalists are consulted before hospitals, and a woman's purity before marriage is considered more valuable than gold itself. In this community lived Adana Okafor, the only daughter of Chief Okafor, a respected palm wine tapper and landowner. Adana was known throughout Ogoba for 3 things: her exceptional beauty, her quiet respectful nature, and her unwavering devotion to her church and family values. She had the kind of beauty that made young men stumble over their words, with skin like polished mahogany and eyes that sparkled with intelligence and kindness. But Adana was not interested in the parade of suitors who came bearing gifts to her father's compound. She had given her heart to only one man, Chukwudi Nwosu, her childhood friend who had gone to Port Harcourt to study engineering and returned 3 years later as a certified professional. Chukwudi was everything a Nigerian mother prayed for in a son-in-law: educated, respectful, from a good family, and deeply rooted in his faith. Their courtship was the talk of the village, the kind of pure, godly relationship that elderly women pointed to when counseling young couples. They attended church together every Sunday, prayed together, and Chukwudi respected Adana's wish to remain untouched until their wedding night. In a world where such values seemed old-fashioned, they stood as a beacon of hope. The wedding preparations had begun 4 months before our story reaches its shocking turn. Adana's mother, Mama Adana, had already ordered the finest George wrapper and blouse from the market in Onitsha. The traditional marriage rites had been performed, with Chukwudi's family presenting the bride price, palm wine, kola nuts, and all the items required by custom. Adana's best friend, Ngozi, was to be the chief bridesmaid. Ngozi was the opposite of Adana in many ways: loud, jovial, always laughing, working as a hairdresser in the village with dreams of opening her own salon someday. The two had been inseparable since primary school. Everything seemed perfect. Too perfect. And that is exactly when the darkness began to creep in. It started with small things that Adana barely noticed at first. A strange exhaustion that would wash over her in the afternoons, forcing her to abandon her tailoring work and lie down. Her mother dismissed it as wedding stress and the harmattan season affecting her body. Then came the nausea. Every morning, like clockwork, Adana would wake up feeling as if her stomach was turning inside out. She confided in Ngozi during one of their planning sessions for the wedding. "Maybe it is the well water," Ngozi suggested, plaiting Adana's hair into beautiful cornrows. "You know how that well near your compound can be sometimes. Or maybe you are just anxious about the wedding. Marriage is a big step, my sister." But Adana knew her body. Something felt different. Wrong. She had missed her monthly cycle, but she convinced herself it was stress. After all, she was a virgin. There was absolutely no possibility of pregnancy. The very thought was ridiculous. Yet, the signs continued. Her breast became tender and swollen. Food that she once loved suddenly repulsed her. The smell of her mother's cooking, which usually filled her with hunger, now sent her running to vomit behind the kitchen. Mama Adana noticed. Mothers always notice. One afternoon, while Adana was resting in her room, her mother entered with a strange expression on her face. That look that Nigerian mothers have when they are about to ask you something serious, something they fear the answer to. Adana, my daughter, I need you to be honest with me, her mother began, sitting on the edge of the bed. Have you and Chokudi, have you two been intimate? Adana's eyes widened in shock and hurt. Mama, how can you ask me such a thing? You know Chokudi and I have been waiting. We made a promise before God and before you and Papa. I have never been with any man. The tears that fell from Adana's eyes were genuine, born from the pain of being doubted and the confusion of what was happening to her body. Her mother saw the truth in those tears and gathered her daughter in her arms, apologizing for even asking. But the symptoms did not stop. They intensified. Ngozi was the first to voice what everyone was beginning to think but was too afraid to say. It was during a late-night conversation, just the two friends in Adana's room, whispering so her parents would not hear. Ada, Ngozi said carefully, using her friend's nickname. I know you are going to be angry with me for saying this, but what if you are pregnant? Adana's laugh was bitter. Pregnant? Ngozi, are you not listening to anything I have been saying? I have never been with a man. Not Chokudi. Not anyone. Never. So how can I be pregnant? Should I call myself the next Virgin Mary? But Ngozi was persistent, and more importantly, she was afraid for her friend. Just take a test. Please. Just to rule it out so we can figure out what is really wrong. Maybe it is a tumor or hormonal imbalance or something else. But we need to know. After days of Ngozi's pleading, Adana finally agreed. On a Tuesday afternoon, when her parents had gone to a family meeting in a neighboring village, the two friends walked to a small pharmacy in the next town, far enough away that no one would recognize them and start rumors. The pharmacist, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes, handed them 3 different pregnancy test brands without asking questions. Adana's hands trembled as she paid. Back in her room, with Ngozi standing guard outside the bathroom door, Adana took the first test. The instructions said to wait 3 minutes. Those 3 minutes felt like 3 hours. Her heart pounded so loudly she could hear it in her ears. When she looked down at the test, the word stopped spinning. 2 lines. Positive. It is faulty, Adana whispered to herself, her voice shaking. These things are not always accurate. That is why I bought 3. She took the second test. Positive. The third test. Positive. Adana's scream brought Ngozi bursting through the bathroom door. What Ngozi saw would haunt her for years. Her best friend collapsed on the bathroom floor, 3 positive pregnancy tests scattered around her body shaking with sobs so deep they seemed to come from her very soul. How? Adana kept repeating. How? 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 I have never been with anyone. Ngozi, you have to believe me. I have never been touched by any man. Not even Chokudi. We have never gone beyond kissing and holding hands. So how am I pregnant? If you are watching this and your heart is racing with questions, good. Keep that energy, because what I am about to reveal will answer everything, but not in the way you expect. Make sure you have subscribed, because stories like this, stories that could protect you and your loved ones, are what this channel is all about. Ngozi made a decision that night. We need to go to a doctor. A real doctor in the city, where no one knows us. Not a village herbalist who will tell everyone your business before sunset. A proper hospital where they can run tests and tell us what is happening. But Adana was paralyzed with fear. If I am truly pregnant, and I go to a doctor, they will never believe me when I say I am a virgin. They will think I am lying. Everyone will think I am lying. Chokudi will think I betrayed him. My father will die of shame. The wedding will be cancelled. My life will be over. Your life will be over if you do nothing, Ngozi said firmly. Something impossible is happening to your body, Ada. Something that science needs to explain. We are going to that hospital tomorrow, and we are going to get answers. The next morning, they told Adana's parents they were going to Enugu to shop for more wedding items. The journey to the city hospital felt endless. Every bump on the road reminded Adana of the impossible life growing inside her. The gynecologist they saw was Dr. Mrs. Okoli, a woman in her 50s with a reputation for discretion and professionalism. After explaining her symptoms and the positive pregnancy test, Adana submitted to a blood test and ultrasound. The wait for the result was agony. When Dr. Okoli returned, her expression was grave. Miss Okafor, the blood test confirms you are approximately 10 weeks pregnant. But doctor, Adana's voice cracked, I have never had intimate relations with anyone. I am a virgin. Can you not examine me and confirm this? What happened next changed everything. Dr. Okoli performed a physical examination, one that would verify Adana's claim. When she finished, the doctor's face had gone pale. She asked Adana to wait, then left the room for nearly 20 minutes. When she returned, she had another doctor with her, an older male physician. They examined Adana again, together this time, speaking in low medical terms that neither Adana nor Ngozi could fully understand. Finally, Dr. Okoli sat down and delivered the impossible truth, Miss Okafor, your hymen is intact. Medically speaking, you are indeed a virgin. And yet, you are unmistakably pregnant. This should not be possible, but I have seen it twice before in my 30 years of practice. The room spun. Ngozi grabbed Adana's hand to steady her. How is this possible? Adana whispered. Dr. Okoli exchanged a look with her colleague before speaking carefully. They are extremely rare cases, and when I say rare, I mean perhaps a handful documented in all of medical history, where pregnancy can occur without penetrative intercourse. It is called superficial insemination or splash pregnancy. If male fluid comes into very close contact with the vaginal opening, in the exact right circumstances, conception can theoretically occur without breaking the hymen. Adana's mind raced. But Dr. Chokudi and I have never even been unclothed together. We have never touched each other in any intimate way beyond kissing. How could this happen? The older doctor spoke for the first time, his voice heavy with something that sounded like suspicion. Miss Okafor, I must ask you some difficult questions, and I need you to think very carefully. Have you ever been unconscious or heavily sedated in the past 3 months? Perhaps after taking medication or drinking something. Adana's face went blank as she searched her memory. Then, slowly, her eyes widened with a realization that sent ice through her veins. The herbal tonic, she whispered. 3 months ago, Adana had been suffering from severe headaches. Her mother had taken her to a herbalist, a man named Dibia Okonkwo, who was famous throughout the region for his healing remedies. He had given her a special tonic to drink twice daily for 1 week. I remember feeling very drowsy after drinking it, Adana said slowly, her voice trembling. Sometimes I would fall asleep immediately, even in the middle of the day. And there were times, I cannot remember, gaps in my memory during that week. Ngozi's hand flew to her mouth. Ada, you do not think. Miss Okafor, Dr. Okoli said urgently, if what you are suggesting is true, this is not just a medical issue. This is a criminal matter. You may have been drugged and violated while unconscious. This herbalist, where can he be found? But Adana was already spiraling into the horrible truth of what might have happened to her. The missing hours. The strange dreams that felt too real to be dreams. Waking up feeling sore and confused. She had dismissed it all as side effects of the medicine. Now the pieces were forming a picture too horrible to accept. We need to go to the police, the male doctor insisted. Today. Right now. But Adana shook her head violently. If I go to the police, if this gets out, my wedding will be destroyed. My family's reputation will be destroyed. Everyone will say I am lying about being a virgin. They will say I am trying to cover up my own behavior. You do not understand how my community works. A woman's accusation against a respected herbalist. They will stone me before they even investigate him. She was not wrong. In many Nigerian villages, traditional healers hold positions of immense respect and power. To accuse one of such a heinous crime would be to invite the wrath of the entire community. Ngozi was crying now, angry tears. So what do we do? You cannot marry Chukwudi while carrying another man's child, a child that was forced upon you while you were unconscious. And you cannot keep this secret. Either the truth will come out. Adana looked at the two doctors with desperation in her eyes. Can you help me end this pregnancy? Dr. Okoli's expression was sympathetic but firm. Miss Okafor, you are at 10 weeks. While termination is technically possible, I cannot in good conscience perform this procedure without a thorough investigation. If you were assaulted while drugged, there may be evidence in your blood, evidence that could put a dangerous man behind bars and prevent him from doing this to other women. But that evidence is time-sensitive. We need to act now. How long do I have to decide? Adana asked. Days, not weeks, Dr. Okoli replied. Every day you wait, evidence disappears, and the pregnancy advances. You need to tell someone you trust. You need support. And if you are willing, you need to let us involve the authorities. Adana and Ngozi left the hospital in a daze, with a folder full of medical reports that documented the impossible, a pregnant virgin. On the bus ride home, Adana made a decision. I am going to tell Chukwudi. Tonight. He deserves to know the truth before anyone else. Are you still watching? Good. Because what happens next will test everything you believe about love, trust, and faith. Hit that like button right now if this story has you on the edge of your seat, and let us continue. That evening, Adana asked Chukwudi to meet her at their special place, a quiet spot near the stream where they often sat and talked about their future. She brought the medical reports with her. When she told him, when she spoke the words, I am pregnant, but I am still a virgin, Chukwudi's face went through every emotion a human being can experience in the span of 30 seconds: confusion, disbelief, anger, pain, and finally, numbness. Adana, what are you saying to me? His voice was barely a whisper. How can you be pregnant and still be a virgin? That is not possible. Unless you are sane. I was drugged, Adana said, tears streaming down her face. The herbalist my mother took me to 3 months ago. The tonic he gave me. The doctors think he violated me while I was unconscious. Chukwudi, I swear on everything I hold sacred, I did not betray you. I did not choose this. Something evil was done to me, and I did not even know it was happening. She handed him the medical reports. He read them by the light of his phone, his hands shaking. The documents clearly stated, hymen intact, pregnancy confirmed, recommendation for police investigation. Chukwudi was silent for a very long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was hollow. I believe that you believe what you are saying. But Adana, do you understand what you are asking me to accept? That you were impregnated by a herbalist while unconscious. This sounds insane. How do I know? How do I know you did not make a mistake with someone else and now you are creating this story too? Get out, Adana said quietly. Get out of my sight right now. The rage that filled her in that moment was like nothing she had ever felt. This man, who claimed to love her, who knew her character, who had spent years with her, was now suggesting she was a liar. I came to you because I thought you, of all people, would believe me, Adana continued, her voice rising. I thought you would stand by me, help me fight this evil. But instead, you accuse me of lying. So go. Leave. The wedding is off. I will face this alone. Chukwudi reached for her, but she stepped back. Adana, please, I am sorry. I am confused. Give me time to think, to process. There is no time, Adana said coldly. The doctors say I need to go to the police now, before evidence is gone. I need to confront that herbalist before he does this to another woman. And I need people who actually believe me by my side when I do. She turned and walked away, leaving Chukwudi standing by the stream, the medical report crumpled in his fist. What happened over the next 48 hours would become legendary in Ogoba. Adana told her parents everything. Her father's reaction was volcanic. Chief Okofor was a gentleman most of the time, but when it came to his only daughter, he was a lion. Her mother collapsed in grief and rage. Together, with Ngozi and her family, they went to the police station in town. The officers were skeptical at first, until they saw the medical reports from the city hospital. The documentation of an intact hymen combined with pregnancy was enough to launch an official investigation. A team of officers, along with Adana, her parents, and several community leaders who had been informed, descended upon the herbalist's compound. Dibia Okonkwo was in the middle of treating a patient when they arrived. He was a man in his early 50s, with graying hair and the confident bearing of someone used to being respected and feared. His compound was filled with bottles of herbs, animal bones, mysterious powders, and the tools of his trade. When he saw the police, his expression barely flickered. "To what do I owe this visit?" he asked calmly. Chief Okofor stepped forward, his voice shaking with barely controlled fury. "You know exactly why we are here, you demon. You gave my daughter a tonic 3 months ago. What did you put in that tonic? What did you do to her while she was unconscious?" The herbalist's face remained impassive. "I gave your daughter a headache remedy. Nothing more. Whatever accusations you are making are false and insulting to my reputation." "Then you will not mind if we search your compound?" the lead police officer said, producing a search warrant. For the first time, fear flickered across Dibia Okonkwo's face. What the police found in the back room of his compound would turn the stomachs of everyone present. A small room with a mattress on the floor. And hidden in a metal box beneath a loose floorboard, dozens of photographs. Photographs of unconscious women in various states of undress. Young women. Girls from the village and surrounding areas. Adana was in some of those photographs. The herbalist tried to run. He did not make it past the compound gate before 3 officers tackled him to the ground. In the chaos that followed, as the herbalist was handcuffed and dragged away screaming denials, more victims began to come forward. Women who had been too ashamed or afraid to speak before now found their courage. The tally would eventually reach 17 young women, all of whom had come to Dibia Okonkwo for various ailments, all of whom had been given sedative tonics, and all of whom had experienced missing time and strange symptoms afterwards. 3 others had become pregnant. They had either terminated the pregnancies in secret or claimed the children belonged to boyfriends they fabricated. Only Adana, because of her publicly known commitment to virginity until marriage, could not hide the truth. The trial of Dibia Okonkwo became national news. The story of the pregnant virgin who exposed the predator spread throughout Nigeria. Medical experts testified about splash pregnancy and how the herbalist had carefully positioned his victims to maximize the chance of conception while maintaining their virginity, creating the perfect crime. He was found guilty on 17 counts of assault and related crimes. The judge sentenced him to 25 years in prison without possibility of parole. But the resolution for Adana was more complicated. With support from Dr. Okoli and a team of counselors, Adana made the decision to terminate the pregnancy. It was not an easy choice, but it was a choice, made with full information and support. The procedure was performed safely in the city hospital. The wedding to Chukwudi did not happen. After that night by the stream, Chukwudi had returned the next day with apologies and pledges to stand by her. But something had broken between them that could not be repaired. Adana had seen the doubt in his eyes, and she knew she could never marry a man who had not immediately believed her. Trust, once shattered, leaves scars even when the pieces are glued back together. "I forgive you," Adana told him during their final conversation. "But I cannot marry you. I deserve someone who will believe me even when the truth sounds impossible. Someone who will fight for me without hesitation. That is not you, and that is okay. But it means we are not meant to be." Chukwudi accepted her decision with tears and regret. Adana spent the following months healing, both physically and emotionally. She became an advocate for other victims of assault, working with organizations that support survivors. She began studying law through distance learning, determined to become a prosecutor specializing in cases of violence against women. A year after the trial, Adana stood before a gathering of women in her community. She had been invited to speak about her experience and the importance of believing victims. "When something impossible happens to you," she told the crowd, "and you tell the truth, there will be people who do not believe you. They will say you are lying. They will say it is your fault. They will say you brought it upon yourself. But I am here to tell you, your truth is valid even when it sounds impossible. Your voice matters even when it shakes. And you deserve justice even when the world says you do not." The community of Ogoba changed after Adana's case. Herbalists were now required to register with the government and submit to random inspections. Women were encouraged to never go alone to healers and to report any suspicious behavior immediately. But more than policy changes, there was a shift in consciousness. People began to listen more carefully when women spoke. They began to question traditions that left women vulnerable. They began to believe. As for Adana, 2 years after her ordeal, she met someone new. A lawyer named Emeka who worked with her at the advocacy organization. He knew her story, believed her without question, and loved her not despite her past but because of the incredible strength she had shown in facing it. Their wedding, when it happened, was a celebration not just of love, but of survival, courage, and the power of truth. So what is the lesson of Adana's story? What should you take away from this shocking true tale? First, watch this before you say "I do." Truly know the person you are marrying. But more importantly, know yourself and your worth. Adana was wise enough to walk away from a man who doubted her, even though it cost her the wedding she had dreamed of. She refused to settle for someone who did not fully believe and support her. That is courage. That is wisdom. Second, trust your body. Adana knew something was wrong, even when everyone told her it was just stress. When your instincts scream that something is not right, listen. Seek medical help. Get answers. Do not let anyone dismiss your concerns. Third, there is no shame in being a victim, but there is power in being a survivor. Adana could have hidden her pregnancy, terminated it in secret, and carried that burden alone for the rest of her life. Instead, she spoke her truth, even knowing the cost. Her bravery saved other women from the same fate. Fourth, be careful who you trust with your health and your body. Just because someone is traditional or respected in the community does not mean they are safe. Always bring someone with you to medical appointments. Always stay alert. Trust, but verify. And finally, never doubt a woman when she tells you something impossible has happened to her. The world is full of evil that operates in the shadows, evil that depends on people saying, "That is not possible," instead of, "Let us investigate." Believe women. Support them. Fight for them. If this story has touched you, if it has opened your eyes to dangers you did not know existed, I need you to do 3 things right now. 1. Subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. Every week, I bring you stories from across Nigeria and Africa, stories that entertain, educate, and protect. Stories that could save your life or the life of someone you love. 2. Like this video and leave a comment telling me what you think. Did Adana make the right choice in calling off the wedding? What would you have done in her situation? Your comments help this message reach more people. 3. Share this video. Share it with your sisters, your daughters, your friends who are planning weddings. Share it with anyone who needs to understand that evil hides in unexpected places and that truth is worth fighting for no matter how impossible it sounds. Before you go, let me remind you, Adana's story is real. The predator was real. The 17 victims were real. This happened in Nigeria, in villages not unlike the one you may come from or have family in. This is not just entertainment. This is education. This is protection. Until next time, remember, know who you are marrying, trust your instincts, speak your truth, and never let anyone make you doubt your own reality. I am your storyteller, bringing you the tales that matter. Subscribe, stay safe, and I will see you in the next story.